We are days away from the launch of Mafia, the Old Country, and I'm going to be streaming it from start to finish coming up this weekend. We're going to go over quite a bit of information in this video, all of it linked over at the Mafia website. We're also going to talk about the main characters real briefly, the launch times, as well as the Q&A for the community, and of course, if you're interested, the PC specs and features, all of which will be linked below in the description section. Without further ado, let's talk about the primary characters of Mafia, the Old Country. The protagonist, Enzo. Enzo always wanted a family of his own. What will he do to protect it? Enzo, a former child laborer in the Sicilian sulfur mine, escapes hardship only to be drawn into the criminal underworld of the Teresi crime family. His resilience and determination earn him trust, but as he rises in stature, he's torn between loyalty and his hunger for a better life and growing disillusionment with the violent world he's become a part of. Next is the Don himself, who is as ruthless as he is loyal. Bernardo Teresi built a powerful criminal enterprise through the sheer ruthlessness, later legitimizing his influence through legal ventures like his sprawling vineyard. Feared and respected, he shows compassion to the honest and reserves his scorn for the corrupt. Fiercely proud and deeply protective of his daughter Isabella, Bernardo fears her growing independence and the shadow his criminality casts over the relationship he cherishes most. Speaking of the Don's daughter, it's Isabella who longs for a life outside anyone's control, especially her father's. Isabella, Don Teresi's daughter, longs to escape the confines of her life in the Sicily. Drawn to Enzo and his dangerous world, she navigates secrecy, loyalty, and love with resolute precision. Her perceptive nature and determination guide her as she struggles between her dreams and the harsh realities of the Teresi crime family's violent legacy. Tino, the Don's ruthless consigliere, was shaped by bloodshed and a vendetta. The hardened tactician, he thrives in the shadows, urging aggression and frequently clashes with Luca and his diplomatic tendencies. Deeply loyal and ever watchful, Tino distrusts Enzo from the start. His sharp gaze and unwavering allegiance to Don Teresi guides his every move through the dark underworld of the family inhabitants. Next is Caesar, who can be a bit harsh, but he's always there for Enzo. Caesar is the Don's charming yet insecure nephew, longs for acceptance within the Teresi inner circle. He masks self-doubts with bravado and dreams of inheriting his uncle's empire one day. His bond with Enzo, however, offers a rare sense of connection. As they descend deeper into the criminal underworld together, Caesar learns that he must take his duties to the family more seriously if he wants to earn the respect he so sorely craves. There's at least one member that was not mentioned so far on their social media. This guy in the back, I'm guessing he's Luca. I could be wrong about that. But anyways, we went over most of the main characters that have been featured so far. That'll be in Mafia, the Old Country, launching in a few days from now. Speaking of launch times, let's go ahead and look at the global launch times for Mafia, the Old Country. It's nearly time to join the family. Mafia, the Old Country launches worldwide next week for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam. Below, you'll find a full list of rolling launch times across all available platforms and regions. So this one is a bit interesting, and I do have some issue with it. I'll talk about that in a moment. So you see Palermo, that's in Sicily. So this one has an interesting launch time. So you see that launch time for Palermo. And then you have launch times in Tokyo, in Beijing, in Sydney, in Auckland, as well as Prague, which of course is the home of 2K Czech. Well, it became Hangar 13. You know, that's basically the heart of the Mafia franchise when it comes to the games. You know, from Illusion, 2K Czech to now Hangar 13. So that's why Prague is mentioned. You got London, their time zones, New York City, as along with New Orleans, San Francisco, Sao Paulo. So you got most of the time zones, and if your time zone's not included, I'm sure you can get a good idea of when the game is going to launch in your world or region of the world or country based off all these other time zones. So my issue with this is the differences in launch times between the console version and the PC version. It's different in some areas, but in most of the areas, it's roughly the same. It seems like the PC version of Mafia the Old Country will be launching first before the console version. I do not understand why, in some cases, there is a 12-hour time difference between the launches. I don't understand why that's a thing. PC is going to get the launch first in a lot of these regions, like Central Time. They're going to launch at 11 a.m. on the 7th of August, but console players will have to wait a whole 12 hours for it to launch at 12 p.m. Central Time on August 7th. And same thing with New York City. 12 noon, August 7th, and then 12 a.m. on August 8th. So hopefully this helps give you an idea of your launch time for the game. And once again, I still scratch my head as to why they've chosen to give PC like a 12-hour release ahead of the console, because they didn't tell us this at first. This is a surprise to me. But whenever they first announced the game and did the pre-orders, I was under the assumption that console and PC players would be playing the game around the same time. Obviously, that's not the case. Speaking of PC, let's real quickly go over the PC specs. Mafia the Old Country PC specs features. Here's the range of hardware specs required to run Mafia the Old Country on PC, plus list of features, graphic settings. All right, so PC features. So those of you that are in the know will probably understand all this better than me. See, uncapped frame rate during gameplay. Cinematics are capped at 30 FPS. So cinematics are only 30 FPS, but everything else will be uncapped. There's anti-aliasing, upscaling, Unreal Temporal Super Resolution, AMD Fixality FX Super Resolution 4, NVIDIA Deep Learning Super Sampling 4, Intel Z Super Sampling 2, Frame Generation AMD FSR, NVIDIA DLSS, Intel XeSS supported hardware only. There's VSync, remapping keyboard inputs, ultra-wide monitor support, HDR support, accessibility options. If you have a PC and you're planning on playing Mafia the Old Country, hopefully you at least meet the minimum requirements. But here is the requirements that they would recommend most people have. But if you want the epic preset requirements, this is the way you want to go, right here. So hopefully these specs help you get better ideas to how good or how bad Mafia the Old Country will run on your PC. And once again, all this is linked below in the description section. Just click on the link for mafia.2k.com/theoldcountry. You can find all these articles. And finally, preparing the initiative. So preparing the initiative, community Q&A 2. Your initiation into the family is fast approaching with the launch of Mafia the Old Country less than a week away. We wanted to take another moment to answer some more of the community's burning questions. We recently revealed the range of PC hardware specifications, which we just talked about, recommended to run the game, as well as a full list of global release times, also we just discussed. And those who missed out on our first community Q&A can find it right here. So if you want to check out the first Q&A, it's here. Below, you'll find a new set of questions delving deeper into the game's mechanics and features. What accessibility options does Mafia the Old Country have? So basically, the accessibility options are in the settings menu. There'll be subtitles, subtitle background opacity, HUD element scale, colorblind modes for UI, so it's good. My friend Yuji has colorblind, so this will be good for a lot of players that happen to be colorblind, so I'm glad they take that into consideration. Sprint toggle hold, fully remapping keyboard controls for PC, as well as simplified struggle automatically completes rapid button press inputs. In addition to the above, Mafia the Old Country's gameplay setting is also going to offer a number of options that may make the game more accessible to some players. Difficulty, easy, medium, hard. I'm going to do my first playthrough on medium, and if we do a second playthrough, I will do that on hard. Yeah, that one will probably be a lot more salty. Customizable aim assist, manual shifting toggle, simulation driving toggle, skip drive and ride option toggle, for those of you that just don't want to ride and drive, you just want to skip to the next point in the game. Navigation, signage toggle, stance when using cover, persistent crouch, and classic Mafia. The camera shake toggle, camera FOV, so you could expand the camera FOV. I'm definitely going to do that. Vehicle camera, view distance, camera follow toggle. Okay, so now let's talk more in depth about the difficulty options for Mafia the Old Country. Mafia the Old Country offers easy, medium, hard difficulty options. Here's a breakdown of each setting which you can also find in the game settings menu. So, easy. Less challenging experience for players new to the action games, are the quote-unquote journalists. Your weapons deal more damage. Enemies are less accurate. You gain more resources from looting and pickups. Vehicles take less damage from collisions. Medium, which is what I'm going to play on. My first playthrough is medium. Balanced experience for players who want a fair fight. Your weapons deal standard damage. Enemies have normal accuracy. Vehicles take moderate damage from collisions. And hard, if I end up replaying the game, it'll be on hard. Once again, if. Tougher experience for players looking to test their skills. I look at me, I'm like, what skills? Your weapons deal less damage. Enemies hit harder with higher accuracy. You gain fewer resources from looting and pickups. Okay, I'm not doing hard now. No. I gotta have my loots, right? Because I love looting. And vehicles take realistic damage from collisions. So, like I said, there's a very real possibility I might do a hard playthrough following a medium playthrough, but that's still up in the air. But I'm definitely going to be playing the game start to finish. My first playthrough will be on medium. All right, so this next question should be an easy answer because it's a single-player game. Can you play Mafia the Old Country offline? On consoles, Mafia the Old Country is fully playable offline, so I'll give you a golf clap for that one. On PC, you'll need to be connected to the internet the first time you launch the game, but in most instances beyond that, Mafia the Old Country is playable entirely offline. Two exceptions are if you significantly change your PC hardware settings between sessions, an online connection may be required next time you launch the game. And after downloading game updates, which alter in the executable file, online connection will be required upon the next launch. Can you freely explore the map in Mafia the Old Country? While Mafia the Old Country is a linear, narrative-driven experience, some missions will offer the freedom to take your own route towards the objectives. In other words, similar to Mafia 1 and 2, you'll be given the opportunity to freely roam through the detailed, lived-in world. The game will also include an explored option at launch, meaning that once you've completed the prologue, you'll be able to find collectibles, spend your in-game currency on new items, take your vehicles and horses for rides around the environment. We have plans to expand this feature in a free post-launch update, more information about which will be revealed at a later date. So it does sound like we are getting a version of Free Ride in Mafia the Old Country, which is definitely good news, especially for those of us that just want to explore this version of Sicily in Mafia the Old Country. Are there collectibles in Mafia the Old Country? Well, that was just answered. Throughout the game, you will find collectibles that give you insight into the world of Mafia the Old Country, such as notes, newspapers, Saints cards, as well as opportunities to take photographs. Others may offer rewards, which can be exchanged for denarii or charms, which can be equipped to Enzo's rosary to grant bonus perks and abilities, and keep an eye out for mysterious type of hidden collectible. Is there a photo mode in Mafia the Old Country? No. Oh, that kind of sucks. Mafia the Old Country will not have a dedicated photo mode at launch. However, there are specific moments in the narrative during which Enzo is encouraged to take a photograph with an antique camera, often capture shots of scenic Sicily vistas that contribute to the guided collectible system mentioned above. So I guess if you have a PS5 or you have a way to do a screenshot really quick, I guess that's going to be your quote-unquote photo mode for Mafia the Old Country. Now let's talk about the knives. How do the knives work? There are 3 different classes of knives in Mafia the Old Country. I think this is the Scanatori, and this is the Risalto, and I think this is the Stiletto, also known as the Switchblade. I always wanted a Switchblade, but last I checked, they're kind of sort of illegal in the US. You got the Scanatori. These knives are lower durability, but can be thrown. The Rasulu, these knives allow for one-hit kills during active combat. The Stiletto, these knives have the highest durability. So I guess you get to decide which knives to use as Enzo, because there's going to be a lot of knife fights in the game. In addition to the above distinctions, some knives come with special perks. Healing Enzo after a takedown. You'll unlock new knives with different perks as you progress through the story. Knives can be purchased from 2 NPCs, Pasquale and Valerio, then equipped at the shops are in the weapon boxes. Only one knife can be carried at a time, and all knives have limited durability that's consumed by special actions like lockpicking, quick stealth kills, knife throw skills. The Centauri knives are with the one hit of the Ursula knives. Durability of your equipped knife can be restored using the Wii stones, which can be found throughout the world. Regardless of durability, your knives always are available for your basic melee attack. A great option when the enemy gets too close, or if you're trying to preserve ammo. Basic melee attack isn't as quick or stealthy as a silent takedown, but it's lethal nonetheless. As for knives in an unlocked DLC, players can equip DLC knives starting in Chapter 2 after meeting Pasquale. These come with special perks, advanced attributes compared to the other knives within the same class. Is stealth optional in Mafia: The Old Country? For most of the game, stealth is entirely optional and just as tactically viable as charging into an enemy encounters with guns blazing. However, occasionally there will be gameplay sections that require Enzo to remain in stealth for narrative reasons. This is very similar to Mafia 3. Lincoln could go into most battles stealthily or guns blazing. The only way you lost is if Lincoln died in combat. So it's nice to see that most of the time you're going to have the same option as Enzo. Either go in stealthy, guns blazing, maybe a little bit of both, but there will be occasions where Enzo has to be stealthy. How does the in-game currency work in Mafia: The Old Country, and what can you spend it on? In-game currency that Enzo can acquire strictly through the gameplay, spend on in-game items, is called the denarii. It can be used to purchase guns, knives, outfits, cars, horses, as well as alternate styles for some of these items. Denarii can be looted from enemies, gained from opening lockboxes, earned in other ways throughout the story. There are no microtransactions in Mafia: The Old Country, and you cannot acquire denarii with real-world money, so that is good. It's all in-game, no microtransactions. How do vehicles vary? Vehicles in Mafia: The Old Country vary across a number of categories. Each has listed weights, power, top speed, transmission, as well as stats for acceleration, braking, grip, each measured on a 5-point scale. Vehicles are unlocked by making progress in the story, purchasing them through the denarii currency in the garage, downloadable content packs, signing onto a link in your 2K account. Additional styles for vehicles can be purchased with denarii from Pasquale's store in-game. Are horses unlockable and customizable? Yes, similar to cars, players can purchase and ride horses as well as change their tack in stables. Some horses and tack will be unlocked through gameplay as the story progresses. More of each will be available from purchase with denarii throughout the game too. Also, cars, horses will have different stats such as endurance, number of times they can be spurred for a speed boost. Will Mafia: The Old Country have a quality mode and performance mode on console? On PS5, Xbox Series X, Mafia: The Old Country will have both quality and performance modes at launch. Players who want to prioritize higher resolution and visual fidelity should select quality mode. Players who prefer prioritized frame rate should select performance mode, just like in most games these days. Mafia: The Old Country launches on August 8th, but there's still several reveals to come before this gritty crime drama is finally in your hands. Stay tuned for even more info. If you haven't already, there's still time to pre-order, pre-purchase the game via PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC via Steam. Now, if you noticed, in this part, it only mentions the PS5 and Xbox Series X. It does not mention the S. So the S will probably only have one mode to it, probably just a quality mode. Once again, Mafia: The Old Country is launching officially worldwide August 8, 2025. Well, depending on the time zone, some people might be getting it on August 7th, depending where you are, and whether or not you're getting it for PC or console. In conclusion, here is my schedule for Mafia: The Old Country. So I'm tempted to get the PC version, but I already pre-ordered on PS5. I'm just going to ride or die PS5 and wait till the next day to start my playthrough, which will be Friday, August 8th, starting at 12 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. UK. That's when I'm going to start my Mafia: The Old Country playthrough this coming Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, until we finish it, 12 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. UK. So hopefully you'll join me in Sicily for Mafia: The Old Country. Once again, links to all this information from Mafia: The Old Country below in the description section. Your thoughts, views, and opinions, welcome, as always, below in the comments section.